Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your latest Manchester United news, and we've got a lot to talk about tonight, as we always do. Manuel Ugarte to Manchester United seems to be drawn closer as the hours and the days go on, but Manchester United have been offered an alternative. We've spoke about it before, a loan, but this time it's with an obligation to buy. Should United do it? We're going to talk about that. We're going to be talking as well, guys, about Marcus Rashford. As you can see in the title of the video, Barcelona supposedly are coming in and quite, I suppose, strongly linked with Marcus Rashford. Should he leave? And we do have a live poll in the chat as well, so make sure you're getting involved in that. We're going to talk about Jadon Sancho as well. Obviously, we know that there's been a lot of links about him away from Manchester United. We're going to talk about Chelsea and the possibility of a bid coming in there, and there's more teams from Italy also interested in him as well. We're going to talk about Christian Ericson as well, guys. He's been offered to a former club of his by Manchester United for just £5 million. We'll talk about that and whether United should cash in on him. We have had a sale as well today. We've actually had two. There's been another one that's been breaking literally in the last 10 minutes or so. It's not done yet, but we got a here we go around Palestri today. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And Bruno Fernandez finally does give us an update on why he signed a new deal at Manchester United. We like to finish on a positive, don't we? So we'll talk a little bit about that. But please do smash a like on the video, guys, if you haven't done so already. Do hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. We're just after breaking the 11,000 subscriber mark in the last few days, so we're on the road to 12,000. Do hit that subscribe button, but most importantly, get your comments into the live chat, guys. We're going to go down through as many of them as we possibly can, and of course we get all of your opinions as well in on it. But look, we are going to start with the number one news story over the last couple of weeks. It's around Manuel Ugarte, and there is growing optimism that United can get the midfield target before deadline day. Now, the big update today, let me just fix my chair. The big update today, it's coming out of the Telegraph. And, you know, reputable enough source, you would have to say. It's coming out from, is it Jason Burton in the Telegraph. He says PSG have offered Manchester United the chance to sign Manuel Ugarte on a season-long loan with an obligation to buy. There is now growing optimism that an agreement will be struck. The report goes on to say that PSG are hoping that the offer to defer paying the full fee for Manuel Ugarte will tempt Manchester United. However, United's preference remains to strike a permanent deal now, with talks set to continue into next week. PSG will only loan Ugarte if United agree to then buy him. Also, it says United would prefer to buy Ugarte, but there remains a gap, believed to be around £8.5 million, between what they are prepared to pay and PSG's £51 million asking price. PSG are hoping that the offer to defer paying the full fee for Ugarte will tempt Manchester United. So, very interesting report coming out from the Telegraph today, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think it's a good opportunity for United to defer the payment for Ugarte, but still get him in? And look, it would basically mean that we will be signing Ugarte permanently. It would just mean we've got the first year on loan, and then we would have to buy him next year. Now, you know, loan deals in the past used to be a kind of a you know, is this guy good enough? You know, are they sending him to us for a year and hope that he gets better and he'll come back to the team and whatever the case may be? But over the last few years, especially with the inflated price of players going from club to club, loans have become a very viable option of getting players into your football club. Now, I'm a big fan of loan deals. I really am. I don't like the obligation part. I would like the option to buy more so, because obviously, naturally, it gives us, Manchester United, more leeway whether we actually want to sign the player or not. And we've done this on a number of occasions over the last couple of years. You know, Amrabat being the latest one. You know, we did it with the big striker. I can't think of his name now. As well, and we did it with Sabitzer also. So, you know, loan options are very viable options for teams and clubs to get players in, especially with the tightening around the regulations of FFP and PSR and so on and so forth. My issue with this, though, however, is that PSG are yet to lower their valuation and their asking price of Manuel Ugarte. And we've been saying this for a long time now. Manuel Ugarte for 51 million is too much. It's too much. And I'll stick with that. I think he's a very good footballer, and I think we really, really do need him. But we've got to stick to our guns here in relation to what we're willing to pay. PSG are trying to put, and look, before I go any further, I don't think they're going to be successful in this, but they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And I think the old Manchester United, before the Dan Ashworths and the Jason Wilcoxes and so on and so forth, I think probably would have fell for this trap. Basically what PSG are doing is, they're saying, we'll give you him for loan, but look, we still want the same amount of money next year. Now, Ugarte signed for PSG last year, and he signed for in or around the same price that they're asking us for him now. And he's had a year, a disappointing year, you would have to say, in Paris. So for PSG to want the same amount of money they've bought him for, on the back of him having a poor season, I think it's not on, you know. And I don't think we're going to fall for this trap either, to be honest with you. I want Ugarte signed at Manchester United, I honestly do. But at our price, you know, PSG cannot be asking for the same amount of money they paid for him last year. You know, it just doesn't work like that. You know, if we signed him, that would be like us, you know, after 2 years of signing Anthony, you know, he came for, what was it, 80 million? You know, and we sell him to Fenerbahce this summer for, you know, we want 80 million. You know, that's not how it works. So, look, I do want Ugarte, and I am 100% agreed with Manchester United wanting to get him signed permanently this summer, because that means then it means we're negotiating the price down to the price that we want. The one concern I have here is that we're necessarily running out of time, because there's still 10 days left, and a lot of work can get done in 10 days of the transfer market, especially when you've got the backroom team that we've got at Manchester United now. But the issue now is, later it goes in the transfer window, the less likely we are to bring in an alternative option to Ugarte, and that's the worry and the concern that I have. Are Manchester United more likely to increase their offer, or are PSG more likely to reduce their asking price over the next 10 days? And I think we have to find that middle ground between now and the end of the transfer window. If PSG are stuck on, 51, we want to pay 43, right, lads, let's call it 50, let's call it 47 and a half. You know what I mean? We'll meet you halfway. And I think everyone will be happy with that. Now, if United can agree that price and still get him on loan, I think that's probably the ideal scenario, because it means that we're not spending the money now and we can spend it next year. And it gives everyone a bit of breathing space when it comes to FFP and PSR and so on and so forth. So I think the ideal scenario is to loan him and then buy him next summer. But again, it has to be at the right price. It has to be at the price that Manchester United want. And, it has to suit our budget as well. And I think that's, by far the most important thing. But, I mean, if we're talking about Ugarte, will he end up at Manchester United? I think he will. I said last week that I was, 7 out of 10. 10 being he's definitely signed and 1 being he won't sign at all. I was around a 7. I'm probably bumping that up to an 8 now, to be quite honest with you. I think we'll get this deal done. I honestly do. But let me know what you guys think. Let's jump into the chat and see what you're saying. Dylan says, love the idea of a loan. What if he's shit? Then waste of money, so great idea. Yeah, but it's an obligation. It's an obligation to buy, Dylan. So we have no choice. If we take him on loan with an obligation to buy, we just have to pay the transfer fee next summer, regardless of whether he's good or bad. If he should terminate his loan and don't buy him, again, yeah, Weghorst, Sabitzer, Amrabat weren't that good, so forget them. Ugarte could be the difference maker for us. Heard Fulham wants Sander Berg, so great, we're not getting him. Brilliant. Yeah, well, that's pretty much done and dusted. I think he's doing a medical today as well. Ben says, if we get a couple of players out, we sign him. If not, I'd go for loan or loan with obligation. Wait on if Casemiro does good when we play Brighton, the hold off till January if we can get him. Yeah, I mean, you're you're banking on a lot of things going right, if that's the case as well. Why are you wearing a Man City training top? I'm not. I'm wearing just a normal blue top. The team that I coach is blue, so I can't do anything about it. You know what I mean? Do you think we'll get Ugarte? We have him for Liverpool game then. Well, look, I mean, if we get Ugarte done, he will be available for Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool is next weekend. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if now that would mean we would have to probably get it done the end of this week, the start of next week, midweek at the very latest, the middle of next week. So there might be a scenario where this runs right down to the transfer deadline day. But all that matters is that we get the deal over the line. But again, I want to reiterate the fact that I do think we need reinforcements in that midfield. We've heard about Scott McTominay over the last few days, and the fact that maybe the Fulham deal has fell through, but he has personal terms agreed supposedly with Napoli. Now, Napoli are negotiating the price because they can't really come up to the 30 million that United are looking for. So, there's going to be some negotiations there if all them reports are to be believed as well. We're going to talk about Christian Ericson in a few minutes as well. So there are reinforcements needed in that area, and I think Ugarte is primed for it. I really, really do. But look, let's see what happens over the next couple of days, guys. Want to move it on. And I want to talk about a very interesting report coming out in the last couple of hours in relation to Marcus Rashford. Oh, sorry, actually, before we move on, there was another update on Ugarte from Luis Enrique, and supposedly he has told Manchester United target Manuel Ugarte that he's not part of his plans in the French capital. Now, look, what I suppose weight that bears on the player, I don't really know. We know that Ugarte already has personal terms agreed with us. He's pushing for the United deal anyway. And I think this is, Luis Enrique and PSG probably trying to press the move a little bit more as well. But moving it on, guys, and talking about Marcus Rashford. Reports coming out in the last hour or so, Barcelona have added Manchester United star to the summer target shortlist. So the Liga giants Barcelona have been tipped to launch a move for a member of United's attacking ranks amid their ongoing search for reinforcements out wide. That's according to the transfer journalist Albert Fernandez of Gaul, who points towards Marcus Rashford as the player in question. It is, of course, common knowledge at this point that the Barcelona brass are on the lookout for fresh blood on the left flank with a view to with the season ahead. After coming up short in their pursuit of Nico Williams, the Barcelona have been left with no choice but to broaden their search. The last couple of days alone have seen the likes of Chiesa, Kingsley Coman and Rafael Leao all tipped as potential arrivals at the new camp, and Marcus Rashford is one of them. According to Barcelona sources, one of the names that Hansi Flick suggested for his only request, a left winger, was Marcus Rashford. So, Marcus Rashford to Barcelona, is a very, very interesting move. I think it would be a very good move for Marcus Rashford if it was to happen. My thoughts on this, straight away are I don't think it will happen. We know Barcelona are... they're a very poorly run football club at the moment, it has to be said. Now, this is just me looking from the outside. I don't know the in-depths about what's going on at the club. But just look at İlkay Gündoğan, for example. He's been let go on a free again this summer. And it looks like he's going to be going back to Manchester City. So, we've heard of all of the deferred payments over the last few years with Barcelona and, getting rid of players, even long-serving members of the club, just to save some money. Gerard Piqué, for example. I think Marcus Rashford, I won't say it would be crazy to join Barcelona because it would probably be a good move. He'll be going to La Liga. He'll be challenging for league titles. He'll be playing in the Premier League or in the Champions League. Of course, it would be a good move for him. But I do think it would I think it would definitely be a step down in terms of the league. You'd be going from the Premier League to La Liga, of course. The other issue here with Marcus Rashford would be the salary that he's on. Would Barcelona give him the same kind of money? We know the kinds of money that they're giving some of the players there. Frankie de Jong, for example, with his deferred wages over a few years is now on over 700 grand a week. So I would be very surprised if Marcus Rashford, was to go to Barcelona. But we go back to what we've said at the start of the transfer window. I always said I thought Marcus Rashford was going to stay. I didn't think he would leave, because of his wages and because the fee that he would garner if he was to leave the club. We go back to that fee specifically. What would United be willing to take for Marcus Rashford? And I think we all kind of landed in around the fee of about 70 million would be what I would certainly look at if Marcus Rashford was to go. If you're looking at some of the figures being touted for players, we just spoke about Manuel Ugarte, for example. PSG looking for 70 million for him. If he's 70 million, surely Marcus Rashford as an attacking wide player going from Man United to Barcelona, you could easily ask for 70 million. Whether Barcelona would pay that remains to be seen. But I've seen an improvement in Marcus Rashford between pre-season and the 2 competitive games we've had so far. There has been an improvement. Now, from a forward standpoint, you're always going to be judged on goals, and a big ick for a lot of Manchester United fans last year was the lack of work rate out of Marcus Rashford and his whole kind of demeanour on the pitch, and he seemed to not really want to be there, and his head was down an awful lot, and so on and so forth. This year, so far, we've seen him at least working very, very hard. He's been working hard in the pre-season games, and as well, even the other night against Fulham, for example, his defensive work rate, he was tracking back well, he was working hard, he was still doing some of the kind of frustrating things that you would see out of Rashford, where, he dribbles into kind of dead spaces and dead ends and allows maybe defenders to double up on him and so on and so forth. But he is working hard, and I think if you continue to do that and you continue to work hard and you continue to stay positive and do the right things, then I do think the goals will come again for him. And to be honest with you, I would stick by Marcus Rashford for another season. I really would. And look, we've got the live poll going in the chat, and people are getting their votes in. Do get your votes in. I said, should United sell Rashford? And 67% of you are saying yes, we should. I would stick with Rashford for another season. I don't see unless somebody comes in with a 70 or 80 million bid, then of course you can 100% take that into consideration. But I think we need to back him for another season. He had a very difficult season last year. There was probably some issues. Well, we know, I think, that there was 1 or 2 personal issues, off the field with, maybe split up with his missus or whatever the case may be. So I think he probably deserves another chance. Look at what he done the year before, 30-goal season. He can do it. He done it already, and he done it in probably a lesser team than we have now, to be quite honest with you. Ten Hag's first season, trying to get rid of the dead wood and so on and so forth. And, he was that go-to guy for that first season under Ten Hag. I think if we stick with him, if we back him and give him all the support, both, from the fan base and the coaching staff and everything that he naturally will get there, I do think he can come back and be a very good player. Will he be the 30-goal-a-season player that we've seen 2 seasons ago? I don't think so. But if Marcus Rashford was getting, 20 goals a season, 15, 20 goals a season consistently, I think a lot of the Manchester United fan base and a lot of the pressure would automatically come off of him. I honestly do believe that. So I would give him 1 more season. But again, let me know what you guys think. Let's see. Dylan says, don't sell Rashford, he's one of our own. Ben says, I can't see Rashford going. Party Pooper says, no chance Rashford will leave this summer, can't see it happening. Edmund says, Rashford is not interested in playing anymore, a change would be good for both. And that's the thing, it does have to suit both parties. Keep Rashford for squad depth, even if it gets sorry, I have the hiccups. Even if he gets replaced by Garnacho, he'd be great backup. Can't bear Sancho being backup. The thing about Rashford being backup is I don't think he would be the type of player that would sit on the bench and keep his head up. I honestly don't think that. I think if Marcus Rashford found himself consistently out of the team, I think his head would drop. And I think that would probably be the end of him. I honestly do. Marcus Rashford is a confidence player. He thrives on confidence. He's not the type of player that, if things are going wrong, he'll... And this is only going by what we've seen in previous seasons with him. He doesn't seem like somebody who will just grind out performances, and try and get himself back that way. So, look, it remains to be seen what will happen with him. But I go back to saying I do think we should stick with him for another season. Dylan says, wait until Rude gets a hold of Rashi. Wait a couple of weeks, he'll be back where he was 2 seasons ago. I'm ready for a Rashford comeback, says Party Pooper. Dylan says, if Rashi brings his form back, then Garnacho is in trouble. What's the latest on McTominay? There's no real updates on McTominay, Patrick, since yesterday. Fulham have pulled out of the race for him, and Napoli are still in. Personal terms supposedly have been agreed, but they can't afford a 30 million asking price, so negotiations are ongoing for that one. But yeah, look, Marcus Rashford to Barcelona, let's see what happens. Will he leave? I don't think he will. I think we should back him for it. If he goes through this season and has another poor season like he did last year, then the criticism is justified. And I don't, shy away from criticism of players. Criticism of players has nothing got to do with a personal attack. It's got to do with what they're doing on the field. And if they're performing on the field, they get praise. Okay? So you've got to take the rough with the smooth. If they don't play well, then criticism is coming your way. But the poll is, we'll end the poll, guys. 68% saying we should sell Rashford. So interesting there, but let's see what happens over the next few days. Want to move it on and talk about a guy that I would like to see go. Going from one extreme to the other, and that's Jadon Sancho. Now, reports coming out today about Italy and Juventus are eyeing a loan deal with an option to buy for Jadon Sancho. Man United want an obligation to buy included in it. Now, again, we don't have to go down through the report. The headline says it all, really, to be quite honest with you. But I agree with this. I agree with Manchester United wanting an obligation to buy. And the reason for that, and I think it's Manchester United making their point quite clear that they don't think Jadon Sancho is good enough. That's 100% what this is saying. And Juventus are a bit wary of whether he's going to be good enough or not. That's why they want the option to cover their behind, I do not think we should let Jadon Sancho go on loan again with an obligation to buy. If Jadon Sancho goes to Juventus, for example, and he does really well, all that's going to do is increase the value of the player. And we've seen already with Borussia Dortmund, he went to Borussia Dortmund and they were really happy with him, but they couldn't afford him. Okay, so I don't think a loan with an obligation to buy suits Manchester United at all, because if Jadon Sancho goes to Juventus and he doesn't do well, we're going to be stuck with him. He's going to have a year less left on his contract, and his price is going to, drop because he's got that year less. So absolutely 100% agree that we should not be loaning out Jadon Sancho unless there is an obligation to buy. I would actually rather keep him, to be quite honest with you. I would rather keep him, put him in the shop window as much as you can. I don't think he would play an awful lot, to be quite honest with you. He would get game time, of course he would. But I think Jadon Sancho wants to move as much as Manchester United want him to move on. And I think he's probably under no illusions now that Ten Hag is not going to play him that much. We've seen he was out on the weekend for Fulham. They said it was an ear. He had an ear infection. And that may well be the case. Absolutely 100%. But does he get in ahead of Garnacho? No. Does he get in ahead of Rashford? No. Does he get in ahead of Ahmad? No. He's on a par with Anthony at the moment in terms of, the pecking order. And to be honest with you, I would probably play Anthony before I play him, given, the unprofessionalism of him and what he, how he brought the club into disrepute when he came out against the manager. So Jadon Sancho, in my eyes, should move on, and the quicker we can get that done, the better. Now, it's not just Juventus. We do know, and we did hear last week that Chelsea have, been sniffing around him a little bit. And Manchester United supposedly believe that Chelsea will come in for him this summer. And this is really big. They're likely to part ways with multiple players before the transfer deadline day. Jadon Sancho has been linked with an exit, and the Athletic claim that the Red Devils are asking for 40 million to sanction his departure. The club senses that Chelsea may make an approach for the England international, although his basic wages of 250 grand per week could be a potential concern. He missed that, blah, blah, blah. Chelsea have been linked with Sancho, but a deal seems unlikely. They signed Pedro Neto from Wolves this month and are about to sign Atletico Madrid's João Felix. They may not pursue other options before the deadline. If Chelsea are interested in signing Sancho, they are likely to propose a loan with an obligation to buy. So there's the obligation that we're talking about. Now, if there was any club on the face of the planet that could randomly come in for a bid for Jadon Sancho between now and the end of the transfer window, it's going to be Chelsea, considering that they are just like Henry the Hoover, just sweeping up players, you know what I mean? And just a back catalogue of players that are not going to get much game time there. Could Jadon Sancho be one of them players? He could. Again, we go back to this loan with an obligation to buy. It has to be an obligation. Would I mind him going to Chelsea? No. I think Chelsea would be the ideal scenario for Jadon Sancho to half disappear, not put in the work, and just be another number on a list. I've said multiple times that we all know how talented Jadon Sancho could be. But we've seen it down through the years with players who don't fulfill their potential. Ravel Morrison, for example, is the biggest one. And it's all for different reasons. Poor upbringing, not surrounding yourself with the right people, not having good work ethic, so on and so forth. I think the work ethic one is Jadon Sancho's problem, professionalism. So I think he could very easily go to Chelsea and he could do okay. But I would have no problem with him going there. Usually you don't want to be selling to your Premier League rivals. It's still unclear whether Man United and Chelsea are going to be rivals this year. I'm sure we're going to be all in the mix for that top 6 minimum. So, I still would have no problem with Jadon Sancho going there, to be quite honest with you. If he goes, he goes. I want him gone. I want his wages off the books. And if we can get some money for him on a permanent deal, Bob's your uncle. Happy days. I would take it. 100% take it. Let's see. Nobody will ever buy Sancho. For God's sake, they want a loan to see if he's any good. If not, let him go. Don't bother buying him. Let's see. If Sancho really wants to leave, he will take a pay cut to go to another club. Dua says Rashford out. Simple. Too many egos and so overhyped. Well, I think the ego. I don't agree with the ego. I think Ten Hag has done a really good job over the past couple of years of weeding out some of that out of the playing squad. We let the likes of Paul Pogba, Jesse Lingard, so on and so forth leave. I don't think there's too many egos left at Manchester United. You look at the kind of squad that we've got there. I don't think Marcus Rashford has an ego, to be quite honest with you. I just think he keeps to himself now. He doesn't do any media work really anymore. And that's his own prerogative. I think Jadon Sancho, does he have an ego? I don't know if he does or not. He has a lack of work ethic, I think, more than ego. But if you look at the players we've signed, I think they've all got good mentalities. Obviously Casemiro, we got Varane, he's obviously gone now. Some of your more recent signings, of course, Lisandro Martinez. You look at the lads that are after coming in, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Xerxes, Yoro. All of these guys are hungry. And they all wanted to join Manchester United, not for a pay packet, but because they want to play for Manchester United. And I think we've turned a corner a little bit with that. Let's see. Connor says, are you going on for the Manchester United match Saturday morning? At the moment, Connor, I'm at the moment I won't be able to do a watch along on Saturday. Unfortunately, my wife works on Saturdays, and I haven't got anybody to mind my 2 kids. So as it stands, I won't be doing a watch along. But if anything changes between now and then, and look, I let everybody know at the start of the season that obviously I think we done every game bar 2 last year. I probably am going to have a little bit I'm going to have slightly less watch-alongs this year at certain points. But look, you're just going to have to bear with me. There's nothing I can do. This is not a full-time job, unfortunately. So, yeah, I've got 2 little babies. So, yeah. Patrick says, Rashford on Friday night, and I got that vibe that he did not want to be there. I disagree, Patrick. I disagree. I thought he looked sharper on Friday night than he did at any stage of last season. And I thought he was working quite hard. He still has them little things that he needs to fix in his game in terms of getting on the end of things and finishing opportunities and chances. But I think the effort and the work rate was there. I honestly do. We all know Rashi can score goals, but he's missing chances because he don't want to be here. Again, disagree with that. If he didn't want to be here, he would hand in a transfer request and leave. You know what I mean? Right, guys, moving it on. Let's talk about another potential outgoing this summer before the transfer window ends, and that's Christian Ericson. Manchester United have set Christian Ericson's price tag amid Ajax interest. Now, a report came out today suggesting that Manchester United had offered Christian Ericson to Ajax. Now, we know Ericson is a graduate of the Ajax Academy. And United set the price tag at 5 million for him. Now, a lot of people, I've done a TikTok on it today, and a lot of people were saying we're letting players go for pennies. We got Christian Eriksen for free. You know what I mean? And look, as much as I love Christian Eriksen as a footballer, I really have to say, if we can get 5 million for him to move him on, I would move him on. I would move him on because his game time is going to be severely limited with the emergence of Kobbie Mainoo into the team. Mason Mount coming back from injury from last season. You'd expect him to have a lot more game time in the middle of the park as well. And the thing about Christian Eriksen is the physicality was never really in his game, but he's also lost that yard of pace now as well, even though he was never the quickest either. An awful lot last season that he did play, we seen games pass him by an awful lot. And, when we're talking about the amount of shots we conceded on the goal last year, I'm not saying it was all Christian Eriksen's fault, but it was because of maybe that lack of steel within the midfield. And I think for that reason alone, I think it's probably time to move Christian Eriksen on, even though I think he's a fantastic footballer and played some really, really good games for United. We go back to what we say an awful lot about the sentimentality of keeping players. That has to go. Now, I don't have an awful lot of sentimentality for Christian Eriksen. He's a great pro and, served Manchester United really well. And if he stays for another season, he stays for another season. He will leave on a free, I think, next year. His contract is up at the end of next season, or the end of this season. So if he leaves on a free, he leaves on a free. We got him on a free, you know what I mean? So he will be money well spent, I would say. And if we can get 5 million for him between now and the end of the transfer window, it's only a bonus. It really is. Ben says, people need to realise that Rashi isn't there to score 30 goals a season. It's assists and 15 goals a season for me. Yeah, I agree with you, Ben. Absolutely. Scott, Harry need to be sold, says Sadiq. Well, look, I mean, I've mentioned it before. Again, I do think they are players that we can potentially get some decent money in for. But I think as the transfer window draws to a close, again, we don't know in the fan base how we fall on FFP, given the amount of players we've signed, especially if we go out and buy Marcus Rashford between now and the end of the transfer window. How are we fixed with FFP? Are we going to be towing the line with it, or are we going to be crossing the line? And I think if we're going to be crossing the line, we need to get the likes of McTominay and Maguire out of our team, out of our squad for financial reasons alone. But if they are there as squad players, I mean, look at Harry Maguire. He got into the Premier League Team of the Week this year. He was, I gave him man of the match in the Fulham game on the weekend. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. He really was. Now, we all know Harry Maguire's weaknesses is when the ball gets played in behind him. But when the ball is in front of him and he's there winning it, he's a very good defender. And I would have no problem with him being here as a squad player. And I think it's quite easy for us to say that now. And a lot of the criticisms and the pressure is now coming off of Harry Maguire because we've got people who we know are better than him and that are starting ahead of him. Obviously, once they're fit, De Ligt, Yoro, for example. So I would have no problem with Maguire staying The only other concern is I think this is his last, or this is the final year of his deal, and I think we can trigger a year extension in January. So if he's not sold this summer, we will have to sell him next summer. So, he's either going to leave before the end of the transfer window, or this is going to be his last season. You know what I mean? Ben says, time for Ericson to go. Great lad, just passed it now. Don't have the legs anymore for the Premier League. Kevin says, Ivan Toney, Manchester United should sign him. Yeah, I mean, look, I wouldn't be against it, but does he fit into the way Ten Hag is trying to play? I don't know. This could be 50 mil for both these players. Yeah, absolutely. Who do you reckon will be our signing of the season? Well, if we're going off of performances so far, Mazraoui, because he had an unbelievable game against Fulham on the weekend. So far it's Mazraoui, but I want them all to be signings of the season. FFP behave. Chelsea signed about 50 players. Nothing happened to them yet, Dylan. Nothing happened to them yet. All right, just because they're signing 50 players doesn't mean we all should sign 50 players. You don't see anyone else doing it. All right, their day will come. So I wouldn't be basing anything off of what Chelsea are doing. They are away with the fairies. So they are. Heard Harry wants to fight for a starting spot again. Well, look, if he does, he does. I respect that. And if he wants to stay and fight for his place, he's well within his rights. He signed a contract. United gave him the contract. He's well within his rights to stay and fulfill that contract if he wants and fight for his place. I don't think he will succeed in fighting for his place. But I do think if he stays, he will get game time as a backup. I would have no problem if we go 2-3-0 up in games and you whip the lick off after 60 minutes to go, right, take a rest and here's Harry Maguire on. Or do the same with Lenny Yoro or Lisandro Martinez. Happy days. I would do that every single game. And I think it would be a smart move to do that. Because I think Harry Maguire is probably aware in his own mind that he's not going to be first or second choice for centre-backs. So if we've got a player who wants to stay at Manchester United knowing he's not going to start every game, that's a valuable asset to have, because you don't have a lad sitting on the bench sulking and throwing his ties out the pram that he's not starting, and you can bring him on then whenever you want, you know what I mean, or wherever you need. Harry still has a mistake in him, like every player that plays football from grassroots to the Champions League final. Everybody has a mistake in them. It's just when that mistake comes out, and I think the better players you have around you, the less likely you are to make that mistake. Anyway, guys, moving it on. A couple of final bits to talk about before we finish up. And we did have a here we go today from Fabrizio Romano in relation to a Manchester United player. And it was Facundo Pellistri to Panathinaikos. Here we go. Exclusive story confirmed as agreement has been sealed for €6 million fee. Permanent deal with sell-on clause for Man United while Pellistri signs a long-term contract. The Uruguayan manager Diego Alonso is a key factor. Now, heard a lot of people talking about this today. I'm glad Pellistri has moved on. I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United. I think we bought him for 4 million, was it? Something like that. And I heard Goldbridge talking about it today, about it being a stupid deal and a terrible deal and making 2 million profit on him and so on and so forth. However, he, decided or forgot not to include the fact that we've got a 40 to 45% sell-on clause for Pellistri. Okay, and this is something that we've seen already with the likes of Mason Greenwood being moved on, and Manchester United, just as it broke, or just as we came live, United did announce that. Let me bring it up on the screen here for you as well, if I can get the article. Where is it? And it's to do with Oyedele, Maxi Oyedele. He will become a Legia Warsaw player. The club have reached an agreement with Manchester United. The 19-year-old will undergo medical tests in the capital in the coming days. The 19-year-old is to cost Legia a low amount of compensation. Manchester United secure a high sell-on percentage. So this is the new tactics coming out from Manchester United and the board. They're more than willing to sell these players for lower fees, okay? We do see Manchester City selling some of their academy players for 10, 15, sometimes even 20 million. But Manchester United have gone a different route with this, and they've gone for the 40 to 45% sell-on clauses. It's going to be in Palestri's deal. It's going to be in Oyedele's deal. It's already been put into Mason Greenwood's deal, and it's future-proofing you, you know. If we were to go out and look for 20 million for Palestri, nobody on the face of the planet would pay it. Nobody would, you know. But allowing these players to leave for, you know, relatively cheap with a higher percentage sell-on, you're allowing more teams to come in to negotiate for them. And, you know, the likes of your Legia Warsaw's and the likes of your Panathinaikos's, who naturally probably wouldn't be able to afford a player like this for 15 or 20 million pounds, now can go, oh, we'll give you 6 million, absolutely. Oh, 45% sell on, absolutely, put it in, just give us the player. And I think it's very smart out of the new Manchester United regime, because you're future proofing your investments, you know what I mean? And it can only be a positive thing for United that, and look, I mean, Pellistri is not going to get game time at United. He's just not. You know, we've got Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony, Ahmad, Sancho, all these types of players that are all above him in the pecking order. So getting rid of him and getting 6 million in is relatively cheap to the eye. But when you look at the 40 to 45% sell on, I think it's a very good deal. I really do. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Make sure you do smash the like button as well, guys. And if you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 12,000 subscribers. Just hit 11,000 a couple of days ago, actually, while we were doing the watch-along. So if you are new to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. Jump into the chat and say hello as well. It's great to see new names every night. We do these lives. Great to see so many people getting involved in the live chat as well. So please do that. And subscribe as well. Turn on notifications. We go live pretty much every night, every weeknight at 9 p.m. Let's see. David says, people need to put a bit of respect on Maguire's name. I remember the fan base in meltdown because he was unfit for the final against Villarreal. The man has not once complained. He hasn't. I agree with you, David. He's been the utmost professional. Ben says, Harry was one of the best players on the pitch last game. Absolutely. What about Mabry going to Burnley on loan? Well, yeah, I heard a little bit about that. Didn't bring it into tonight's show. We might do it maybe tomorrow if we get some updates on it between now and then. That's Legia Warsva. Right, okay. Fair enough. Finally, guys, I do want to talk about this a little bit. Bruno Fernandez reveals the details of the talks with Manchester United that led him to signing a new deal. Now, look, I don't think there was ever an issue as to why. David says that's Legia Warszawa. Am I saying that right? My Polish missus wants that pronounced properly. Legia Warszawa. I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I did it justice. But anyway, Bruno Fernandez has been speaking about why he signed a new contract with Manchester United. And he's been saying it with ESPN. He says the Portuguese international granted an interview with ESPN to relay that he had concrete proposals to leave Manchester United this summer, but ultimately he was convinced to stay at the club, to stay by the club's ambitions to challenge for the biggest trophies and competitions. He said, the club knew that I wanted to compete with the best teams. They knew that we needed to improve the team, and I think that we're doing that. Obviously, I said to them, I don't need you to promise me that we're going to win the league, because no one can promise that, but at least that we will have a team to compete and be competitive through the season, to try and achieve silverware and to compete at the highest levels. I think the club is doing that. It's trying to bring players in to get more players with quality into the team, to get more competitive, so everyone is fighting for places. But my first choice was always to stay at the club. It was not even demands, but the things that I wanted to see. The club going forward, I could see a future on that. To be honest, I look now and I see the club is making an effort for that as well. So yeah, I mean, all positive things coming out about Bruno Fernandes. And it just goes to show the vision that the new vision that Manchester United and Ineos and Brailsford and Barada and Dan Ashworth all have going forward for Manchester United. Could Bruno have left? Absolutely, he could have. And if Bruno had left Manchester United, I don't think any Manchester United fan could say he didn't give us everything, because by God he does, game in, game out. So the fact that he signed a new deal on the basis of what the new structure wants to do at Man United is very, very heartwarming. You know, it warms the cockles of your heart, as they say on the west coast of Ireland. So yeah, happy days. Bruno Fernandez obviously signed a new deal, and he is absolutely vital to us being successful going forward in the future, in the coming season. So delighted with that as well. Warszawa. Say Warszawa. Okay, so Legia Warszawa. All right, Warszawa. Every day is a school day. Every day is a school day. Do you think Bruno would get into any United team in history? Yes. I mean, name me one that he wouldn't get into. The 2008 Champions League winning team, he'd probably get in ahead of Hargreaves. The 99 team, he would probably get in. I mean, you'd fit him in alongside Keane and Scholes, 100%. Yeah, he would. He would get into every single Manchester United team in history. I honestly believe that. Guys, we'll leave it there. I do appreciate everybody for watching. If you haven't already done so, I would appreciate it if you just give the video a thumbs up. It helps the channel out an awful lot. And if you do hit subscribe, please do turn on the notification button as well. If you have already hit subscribe for watching this for the first time, thank you. I hope you're enjoying the content, and welcome to the community. Make sure you follow us on all our socials as well. They're all tagged in the description down below. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that kind of stuff, guys. I do appreciate it, lads. I might have to do a video later tomorrow night, because we've got a pre-season game myself with my own club. So stick with me. I'll let you know. Join the WhatsApp group as well, guys. The WhatsApp group is tagged in the description below. Make sure you're joining the WhatsApp group. All of the updates in relation to when we're going live get put in there, and in the Discord group as well. So make sure you're joining both of them. Lads, I appreciate you all watching. I'll chat to you tomorrow. Have a great evening, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.